It is the top of the hour here at MSNBC. Thanks for watching. I'm Christy Musumeci. We're going to have those stories, plus other news making headlines around the world. I want to start with that comment from Lacey Peterson's father. I'm glad they're looking in the right direction. I know he did it. It's going to be difficult as long as he lives, Mr. Prime Minister, because in fact only 3% of Palestinians are supportive at this point of Abu Mazen. And if you ask the typical Palestinian on the street, he'll say Arafat is everything. So how do we go about that change as long as he's still alive? Good evening, I'm Christy Musumeci. Joe will be with us shortly, but first we're going to begin Scarborough country, heading to California where we find Jim Cummins with the latest for us live on these deadly wildfires. Jim, has there been any second guessing on the firefighting tactics that you've heard of? I know when this thing began, the firefighters were facing a couple of options: go on the offensive, try to attack these flames directly, or focus on saving homes and lives. Have you heard any criticism of the way this thing was handled from the get-go and how it may have hurt them in the end?
A lawyer.
But I mean, Jason, you know, if the process is going on and it seems like Mohammed's going to talk, isn't that unusual that they would, you know, stop it short? I mean, if he were basically willing to tell them everything at that time, why would the federal prosecutor give the order, stop talking to him? You brought up the federal prosecutor, Thomas DiBiagio, and you write also that he said he was under orders from the White House. But some of your sources do not corroborate that. Is that correct? Thank you so much, Jason Blair, the New York Times. This is nice. Okay, I'll just take this.
You know, it's neat. I mean, you could carry that into a business meeting without being embarrassed.
Okay, now my favorite item.
Oh yeah.
The slender tone. I gotta tell you, it looks like one of those things you see on television, like one of the infomercials.
Yeah.
You know, it says guaranteed to give you stronger abs.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And it doesn't work.
You're doing something nice for yourself.
You're our Suzanne Summers here today
well,
as well.
Something like that.
Coming up, Buchanan and Press, and among their guests, Saddam author, how do you say it?
Con Coughlin.
There you go.
And why don't you admit that you were told in an earlier segment earlier today the pronunciation of his name, and that's how you knew it? That's why you corrected me?
I admit it.
It's not like you just read C-O-N-C-O-U. You know,
I'm prepared.
Although I should have probably.
Prepared.
Anyway.
And we want to take you once again now to Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C., where a wreath-laying ceremony is underway. They just played taps. Vice President Dick Cheney will be laying the wreath there, honoring the soldiers, the brave soldiers who fought in the Korean War. And joining me to discuss a little bit about the historical significance is Jack Jacobs, retired Army Colonel. Thanks for joining us as always.
Morning.
So what do you think is foremost in vets' minds this morning on this day? Well, tomorrow actually is the day that was the signing of the armistice. What do you think the emotions are and the overriding sentiment? And we have a breaking development on the situation going on in the Philippines right now. Apparently, the renegade Philippine troops have agreed to end the siege and return to the barracks. This according to a negotiator. We are learning this now from Reuters news service. Again, we've been telling you about the situation that has been going on there. These insurgent troops who had blocked off and rigged a shopping complex with explosives, making a number of demands. The President Arroyo stepped down, was one of them. Then they were willing to make some concessions. And now we are learning that these Philippine troops have agreed to end the siege and return to barracks. So some good news there coming to us from Reuters news service. We will keep you updated on that situation in the Philippines. Still ahead on MSNBC, it's a story that had the... You've been listening to a press conference in Gilroy, California, having to do with the disappearance of two New Hampshire children. Their father, Manuel Gehring, has been arrested in connection with their disappearance. Those two children are 14-year-old Sarah Gehring and 11-year-old Philip Gehring. Now, authorities have been a little bit not as forthcoming in this press conference as they were earlier today. We earlier were listening in on a press conference in New Hampshire, where this family is from, when authorities said that, in fact, they now are categorizing this, presuming this to be not a missing persons investigation, but an apparent double homicide. And interestingly enough, the FBI agent here and the Gilroy police chief did not refer to the case as such. The facts that we know so far, this man, Mr. Gehring, apparently disappeared on July 4th through July 10th, driving from the East Coast to California. His children were not with him when he turned up in California on Thursday, and he would not tell authorities where those two children are. Welcome back. Get out your Prada pumps and popcorn. The girls of Sex and the City start their last goodbye tonight. but it will be a long one. Fans will get to savor 20 new episodes of The Four Friends, Ups and Downs in the Big Apple. And joining us now to talk about the show, Dr. Judy Koreansky, better known as Dr. Judy, a psychologist and sex therapist who's the author of a number of books. I have one right here. I want to hold this up. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Tantric Sex. What is tantric sex? We know that Samantha has tried tantric sex and just about every other kind of sex, right?
Exactly.
And it's funny because the show reaches such a wide audience. I'll tell you, it was my father who first told me that I should watch this show. And, there's an article in the Times today, though, that teenagers are actually, young girls are watching this show. I mean, there's some pretty explicit stuff.
Exactly.
It also, I think, can glamorize, though, alcohol. They see these girls drinking candy-colored drinks, and, that life in the Big Apple, being single in the city, is so glamorous, and sometimes it's not. We will be watching tonight. Dr. Judy Koreansky, thanks for joining us. All right. Well, wicked weather is the theme of the day, from flooding waters in Florida to raging wildfires in Arizona. We'll have the latest live coming up next. And after 5.5 months in Iraq, Marines from the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade are returning home to these smiling faces.
And once again here on this version of Imus in Washington, please welcome Walter Cronkite.
Meantime, Hillary Rodham Clinton, running for the Senate in New York, has altered her appearance yet again. Ms. Clinton has adopted still another new hairstyle, shorter than ever, bobbed to just below the ears and to the nape of the neck, and dyed green. Ms. Clinton under criticism from gays for her plans to march in next week's St. Patrick's Day parade, from which a gay Irish group is banned, spoke with reporters a short time ago, and IW microphones were there.
My new hairdo serves a threefold purpose. It expresses my solidarity with my gay sisters and brothers, and that I now look exactly like Ellen DeGeneres. It reflects my work over the last 6 years to further the peace process in Northern Ireland, and I believe it therefore accomplishes the otherwise impossible physical task of covering my generous butt. Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, the First Lady's new hairdo is the 4,538th of the Clinton administration. And also, it appears, makes her eligible for inclusion in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most confused and conflicted person who ever lived.
Imus in Washington here on the Imus in the Morning program. It is 16 minutes now after the hour.
I ain't looking to block you up, shock or knock or lock you up. I ain't looking for you to feel like me, see like me, or be like me. All I really wanna do